Hi guys, I just wanted to say hi, and I really hope that everybody's feeling a little bit better today. And I know many of you are right now in living in such despair, anxiety, fear, confusion. What am I going to do? How can I live like this? Will it even get worse? I have no support. What am I going to do? And many of you have lost your jobs, lost family members, friends, because they just do not understand what is happening to you. And when I was going through my illness, I would think about this all the time, about what are people doing that are in this, this place with their illness, and they don't have the support. And that's why it became imperative that I became a support to others while they were going through this, because I didn't want anybody to suffer through this by themselves. And that really became my basic mission, if you will, to be first an example of what is possible, because I did heal from this illness. And yes, it did take time, and yes, it took a lot of energy and commitment to do so. And I feel if you are in this space of dealing with this illness, you are one of the strong ones, because I know that this illness happened to me because I tolerated and molded myself to a lot of people's expectations of me that I couldn't uphold, as well as just to be a certain way for others is not sustainable. And there's so much that gets programmed into us from such a young age. And when I had time to really think about what was happening to me during my illness, I realized, just by reflection, all of the things that I had gone through in my life, and what I tolerated, what I shouldn't have, what was placed upon me that should not have been, and just all the stress of all these expectations that I had put onto myself. And while I was going through my healing process, where I had to get to the point where, I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, I'm not my personality, I'm not my titles, I'm not any of these things that we are taught to be from starting, from a young age. And I realized that once I pretty much took that big, huge layer off of my being, could I only really see that I'm just a human being. And getting myself away from all of that ego stuff and that programming and labels and even gender, like just throwing that all off of the expectations of who I'm supposed to be at this time. I'm supposed to be a great daughter. I'm supposed to be a great friend. I'm supposed to be a great business owner. I'm supposed to be a great, everything was supposed to be like at such a heightened level. And I'm supposed to do and create and have, materialistic things. Like, can you imagine if you pile all that on to yourself, what that creates? It creates you to be, I feel, something that you cannot live up to, because there's always like another bar, another bar that you're supposed to reach. So after I was, going through my illness, I realized that I'm not surprised this happened to me. And I'm not surprised it's happening to you either, because I think it's a lot more common than people think. And I just think that they're going through life and they have different stages of it, and they're, able to tolerate, and they think that, oh, it's just stress, or, I'm taking care of my kids, and, I have a demanding job. So they're blaming all these different components of their lives that, yes, are part of your stress bubble, but underneath, the illness has been brewing for a long, long time, many years, especially if you finally crash and you're taken out of the world. This is, I realized that I have had this illness brewing in me for many, many years. I had multiple crashes even before this very, very severe one. So it's a piling on of layers of years of many different factors, since we're like little beings that finally get us to the point that we are now. And it's this rather awakening once we get to the point where before we're like zooming around from one thing to the next thing. I have to, okay, I need to, we're in that place. And then we're finally like, I can't do anything but be in bed. So you have to go to a different layer in yourself, because you are no longer the same person that you were yesterday, today, which we're always evolving and changing anyway. But this is just a big example. We're out in the world, and then we're suddenly laying in a bed all day, and not just for a week, but for weeks or months or whatever. We have to change. We have to look at how we got here, really. And I always say to myself, my illness was a call to change. And it wasn't a call to change one thing about myself. It was a call to change and review and look at and witness, where do I need to go in myself, not only to heal, but once I get back out in the world, how do I need to be so that this doesn't happen to me again? Because I think that's huge too. Because it's one piece, you're diagnosed or you're not diagnosed, but you think this is what you have. You're put into, especially in the advanced stages, you're put into this world where you can hardly do anything. You are barely functioning. And I know many of you know what I'm talking about, in that place, that feeling. And then as we start to heal and become more aware, more knowledgeable about ourselves, about the world, about how we are kind of transforming into a new person, we start working on getting ourselves back out in the world, and we're different. We're different. And the people that are surrounding us, they believe that we're not really different, because we go back out and we start putting our masks back on, like our personalities and our maybe a title, or, we start layering these, our ego comes back in, we start layering these things. I am supposed to be a good daughter. I am supposed to be a good friend. I am, a lot of these shoulds, supposed to be's. And you have to watch that, because a lot of that is the old programming that you and I need to break away from, because it got us into trouble. And I found that so challenging. I'm going to be honest always. When I was coming back out, I started to, okay, even when I was just like a newbie back out into the world, and I was talking to, not even over the phone, because I could barely talk on the phone when I was, in crises with my illness. But then I got back out in the world, and, older friends were talking to me again. I was in a different world. The conversation seemed so distant, and like, this is what people are talking about? Like, I can't believe what I just went through. And, nobody even asked me a question about what I went through, or how did you do that after all that time? How did you manage to survive? Like, I don't know if people are afraid of knowing I don't know. But anyway, because that would have been my question to someone, but I'm actually a very highly sensitive person. So I probably would have said to a friend like, wow, you were suddenly taken out of the world. How did you even do that? Like, I would be curious to, like, how does somebody do that? I'm always very curious, like, someone has an illness, it's like, how did you handle it? The psychology of it always fascinated me. And I always, in my livelihood, I would take care of ill people too. So being around them, how they did the ins and outs of their daily lives or moment to moment always fascinated me. Like, how are they doing this? What are they thinking? Or that helps them to, get through another minute, get through another day. And then I became that person on that side where I was doing that work, and I have to, how they say sometimes you have to toot your own horn? I have to toot my own horn. I made it. And as you all can see, being in this space, you see the dedication and hard work it takes to get from 1 minute to the next minute. You know what I'm talking about. You're in it. You know that feeling, that desperate feeling, like, will I make it to the next minute? That's how I had to live my life, from 1 minute to the next minute, to try to get from 1 minute to the next minute. Only you guys know what that's like. Can you imagine? That is intense. So I want you to be careful when you're going back out, or when you're preparing to go back out. I want you to watch what hats you're putting on. If you're working really hard to, like, fit in, or, be acknowledged, or be seen, or be the good whatever, employee, mother, daughter, son, father, watch yourself. Watch yourself, because you know what? We can really only be us. And to watch your comparing to others, oh, that gets us in so much trouble. Well, they can do that. Why can't I? You can even do that with illnesses. Well, they're at that point. How come I'm not at that point? Watch your comparing. Do not compare yourself to anyone, even while you're healing. And especially when you're out there in the world. And watch what expectations people are putting on you. Like, why can't you blah. You know what? I can't. I can't yet. I can't right now. It's probably going to change, but I can't do that right now. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. You could be nice about it. You know, that doesn't work for me. I can't do that right now. Because there's going to be a lot of people that expect things from you that you no longer want to live up to those expectations from them. It's not who you are anymore. It's not your role anymore. It's not your goal anymore. Because look what you went through. You have to acknowledge that every day. Look what I went through. Look where I am today because of what I went through. My goal in life was to heal from this. And I had to put a lot of work and energy and fighting power to stay on the planet in order to get me there. So be you. I can't stress that enough. Please be you. You know, when you start to heal, you know, remember the new you that you're creating, because we can't go back to that old you. It's not working to that level anymore. Be aware. Think about things. You know, if you get triggered, you know, kind of pay attention to that. It's coming up for a reason. Don't beat yourself up for anything. That's another thing that we'll do too. We'll like beat ourselves up because we're not living up to the standards, one, that we're placing on ourselves that could be too harsh. So pay attention to that little, you know, that little gremlin that sits on the shoulders like, well, I don't know what your problem is. You should really be blank. No, just watch that and be like, you know, buzz off or go like this, flick them off. You know, have your little strategies because you're going to have that inner talk, as we know during this healing too. We're thinking about a lot of different things that are leading us, you know, down some interesting paths. And some of those interesting paths we have to go on to see everything, like how we got here. Doesn't mean we stay there, but it's a good kind of like eye opener, like, oh, wow. Now I can see I went through that. So, whew, that was pretty difficult. And a lot of times you think you're over it, but see, it sits in the memory of the brain. So it's just sitting in there like in a folder, you know. I learned that part of the limbic system. Just sitting in there in a little folder. And what happens to us when we become ill is the folder starts to open up and we become like, wow. You know, a lot of things will push forward in our memories, and we can't run from them anymore, distract ourselves from them anymore, because that's what we do in life. We work, we have kids, we go to the store, we shop, we, you know, whatever it is that we do. And then suddenly we can't run anywhere to distract ourselves from these thoughts that we thought we were over, but we're really not, and they're pushing forward. So just, if they come up, just look at them like, you know, like a movie, like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You know, don't judge them. Don't become paranoid by them. They're just like a movie. They're just showing themselves to us. And it helps us to understand how we got here. Because that's what happened to me. The folder opened. And it helped me to understand how I got here. But I didn't judge it. I didn't beat myself up for it. I didn't stay stuck in the folder. I just became witness to the memories. Because a lot of things come up that you might not be ready for, or they may scare you. But we're already scared. We already are in such a place that these thoughts, these memories, we can, if we decide to just let them float by, take a quick glance, okay. Because I realized for me in my journey that came up for me. How did I get here? What happened? And then, like I said, you can't run anymore. So things are going to pop up. Don't let them frighten you. Okay? Don't let them frighten you. I just can't reiterate it enough that I really realized that I had to change. I had to work on transforming myself, taking the good pieces in me and watching, having the awareness around how I was interacting with people and watching the comparisons, the judgments, the I need to, watching all those expectations that I had put on myself from such a young age, growing up to the age that I am now, which is 66 years old. And many of you are in your younger years, 20s. I had my first crush when I was in my 20s. Didn't know what it was. So when we're in our early 20s, a lot of things are changing. We're growing, we're evolving, we're starting to form our own identities, breaking away from parents, but still stuck in a lot of things where we're trying to live up to people's expectations of us. So I wasn't surprised when I look back, I'm not surprised that happened to me in my 20s. A lot of people have problems in their 20s, or as soon as they go off to college, or just in their 20s in general. It's a big growth spurt that, we have. But I'm just here as a reminder that I want you to be good to yourself during this healing journey, because we're healing. So healing means to be good to yourself, to pay attention to yourself, to take care of yourself. That means eating, staying hydrated, doing all good things for your mind, not letting people beat you up, staying away from people like that. Starting to put in place a boundary. Like, I didn't know what boundaries were when I was growing up. I didn't know. So I didn't have a lot of protection because I didn't know what a boundary was. So everything just spilled over each other, and I was just in the mode of, how could I be better? Or this doesn't feel comfortable to me. How can I protect myself? Or how can I, keep going in an environment that might not feel right? Like, there's so many things that we have to adapt to when we're growing, right? I mean, and become even adults or, slightly older people like myself. But this is a time for all of that awareness, that growth opportunity that this illness gives us. And nothing has taught me more, and I think it's true about many things. When you're limited, nothing teaches you more than when you're limited in some way. Especially, I was so limited for quite some time with my illness and the level that I was at. I had to find my way out. I had to find my way out of this. And what do I need to do to get myself out of this? And a big part of that was like paint very close attention to what I allowed, in my life, people, during my healing journey. And mostly I had to give everything up as far as people. There's very few people in my world that I allowed to stay in. And that was just what I had to do. And I'd love to hear from any of you what you had to put in place, what you noticed that you have had to do to help yourself, move and heal from this illness. What did you notice was difficult for you? Besides symptoms, of course, but did you have to stop talking to certain people? How did you navigate? What helped you? These are all fascinating things that we should share with each other, because we're all working on becoming better and healing and, moving forward out of this realm of, our illness. We're trying to move forward out of it. And what do we have to do to get there? So I'm just here as a reminder, basically, to make sure that you're being good to yourself and not beating yourself up. I mean, for anything right now. Nothing. You have to be the most loving, compassionate, caring person to yourself. I can't say that enough, because it's a place where putting all these pieces together help us to move out of it, help us to move out of where we're at right now. It requires a lot of compassion for oneself. So please take this as a strong reminder of being loving to you. It's your body, it's your mind, and you are doing the work. Yes, it does require work to heal, but once you get through this, nothing, and I mean nothing, can touch you, because I know in you, you have the strength, the perseverance, the determination, because that's all in us naturally. You have that in you naturally. Every human has it. So you're going to use it to get out of this. And you're going to see how strong you are to get through this, and realize how strong you were to even get to the point of what you had to live with or tolerate or survive to get to the point where you are in this illness. So look at the strength from the past, look at the strength in the present, and look at the strength towards the future that you are going to have in your being that no one can ever take away from you. And I mean no one. Ever. Because that's what you did. You made yourself so inwardly powerful and strong that nothing can touch it. Do you hear me? Nothing can touch that peace in you. Because we all have it. We just have to remember that we have it and tap into it and live there, because we have it. All right, guys? Please remember your courage, your strength, and your perseverance. You got this, and I love you all.